Welcome back to the Green Room Hot Topic. Welcome back to the Green Room Hot Topic. We're excited for what we have in store for this episode right here. To my left, we have a new co-host. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you Lo.
Hi everyone, I'm Lo.
Hey man, let's welcome Lo to the show. Let's welcome Lo to the show. Nah, for real, man. Glad to have you on the Green Room.
Thank you.
I am very excited about this as well. Got a whole little thing going on here.
Yeah, for sure.
I like it even different right now. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, let's get it, man. Let's do it.
Just tell the people a little bit about yourself.
I am here local in Savannah. I have a small child who, y'all young moms or moms who have young ones know how that is.
Oh.
He just turned 2 in April.
Terrible 2.
No, terrific 2s. We speak positivity, the terrific 2s. My boy, he's pretty dope. But, I'm married to a West African man that I actually met in Savannah. We've been married for about 1.5 years now. I act, all my theater people, my film people, how are y'all? I guess that's it about me, not too much.
Okay, so that's what's up. This is coming first, from the Green Room Hot Topic. So, I have a kid on the way, and I just found out the gender the day before yesterday. I'm having a girl.
Oh, congratulations!
Congratulations.
A girl coming!
Congratulations, my brother.
So at first, I really didn't know how to take it
Uh-huh.
at first, but after talking to my boy Ty and a couple more people, I'm actually excited about it.
Yeah, you should be.
Gotta be excited about it.
I can't even lie. I was a playboy in the past.
Yeah.
But this is gonna change up everything because
It does.
I looked up some stuff about raising daughters, and everybody has their input. The main things that I took away from everything that I was gathering is she's going to look at the relationship with the mother that you have with the mother, how consistent you are with your words, how stern you are. You also have to reinforce the idea, that she's beautiful. Those are pretty much the main points I can't think of right now. But I'm excited about that.
That's how y'all should be talking when it's time to have a kid.
Yeah.
You gotta take that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think it hit different at our age. You know what I'm saying? And when I was like 23 and I was having my kid.
Don't age us now.
Yeah.
Don't
age us.
We're wiser.
Right.
We're wiser. Like, we still young, but we wiser.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it hit different than like how it's hit for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't saying those things. Not that I wasn't excited. I wasn't looking up information and stuff like that. I was just taking the outcome.
Yeah.
That's cool though.
I got to because I know it's weird with my family. There's not many females in the family.
Okay.
So I don't have much experience with dealing with like female relatives. Even on an aunt level. I already know with the daughter, you have to take more of the psychological approach,
Mm-hmm.
and to be in the ear.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell her everything.
Yeah.
She going,
Man, put her up on game.
I'm gonna put her up on game.
And I understand what you mean too about speaking that stuff into women. I don't have a girl, and I always wanted a boy, so I was so happy when I had a boy.
Everybody wants one.
Because I don't know, I just felt like I could relate better to that, But speaking positivity into them at such a young age is always important. So, I always tell him how he's smart, he's strong, he's intelligent, and I think for men a lot when they're younger, they're always like it was, you're thinking about the psychological aspect. The psychological aspect for a young boy is, y'all are always taught about macho. You have to be strong, you have to be tough, you have to do that. And I'm like, okay, that's what his father is for. But I'm going to encourage him on different aspects, So it's very easy for me to, tell my son, you're very intelligent, you're so kind, like I appreciate you helping me with that. And if he sees me, and it was so funny, like this morning he saw me getting ready and he said, "Mommy, it's beautiful." I said, "Oh, babe," but he's doing that because he sees how we all speak positively to each other, we use manners to each other, and so small children are always going to, do as you do, not as you say, Yeah, so I think that's great.
What she just said is very important too, because you definitely need that balance. Like, of course, I think it's crucial for any child, son or daughter, to have their father in their life because that's just a very important role. But the mother's role is also important, like you said with your son. And I can relate because my mom, she told me, she always gave me like words of affirmation and whatnot. And when I came out into the real world, I would say that, I didn't have any self-esteem issues, because dudes have self-esteem issues too.
Actually, it's just easy. Honestly, I'm not in the same household as my kid, but I do try to be there as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
When he was in the household with me, I did take those steps, you know what I mean? And making sure his growth is okay. I always, like I told Sean the other night, I'm always relaxed. I'm just relaxed when it comes to my kid. You know what I'm saying? I only have to spank him one time. He's an excellent kid. Intelligent. I always talk to him like he was already an adult.
Right.
On top of everything else.
Yeah.
Because they got a lot of sense. You gotta give them more credit than you actually give them at any age. So
none of that goo goo gaga BS.
Yeah, none of that goo goo gaga. I hated that. I didn't like people in my kid's face doing that.
Yeah.
Like, that's retarded. What is that? I'm trying to teach him English, and you in his face.
You teach him Babel.
You teaching him Babel. Like, he gonna think it's Babel, okay?
Yeah. That's people go to it initially because they're thinking it's loving and it's nature, and they want to. But I also, I nannied a lot before I had a kid, so I had a lot of experience with them. And from day one, I made sure I didn't do that, because my husband, his primary language is French. So I was like, okay, he's grown in a house with 2 different languages, and sometimes that can cause speech to be delayed. And he spoke pretty early, walked pretty early, tackled everything pretty early. But I handled it just like Tyrone. I spoke to him like an adult from the time he was born, asking him questions and engaging him and things like that. And I think it adds to it. And even if you're not in the house, like, you make sure you're there in your son's life, and that's all that matters. You know what I'm saying? You make an impact. So.
Trying to go this weekend, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely love that. Like I said, you gotta put the work in. Gotta put the work in, whether you're there or not. You know what I'm saying? Everything, like, technology enables you to still interact with your kids and stuff like that, so I like that aspect of it. But it's not the same, but of course I like that aspect of it. I still make sure I put my time in, It's more than money, way more than money, Just put your time in, day one. I'm a day one, mom. I can say that.
Is money. That's more money.
Especially when they get to asking. Mine is asking out. So
I don't know what I did in the universe. I feel like I didn't do, too many people wrong.
I told you, that's mainly the reason.
I feel like with boys, they eat you out of a house and home, though. Like, girls ask for money for different things, but like, my son can eat, like, he'll eat like 3-4 eggs for breakfast and then turn right around and ask for more. He loves vegetables. He'll just eat and eat and eat, and I have to cut him off. And he's not a heavy kid, like, he's very little, but you look at him and you're like, bruh, like, no, I'm not feeding you anymore. I go for breakfast and he's like, Mommy, I want breakfast.
Metabolism is high.
Yeah, it's very, man. So I'm like, 2 cartons of eggs, 18, it was 18 in each one, and I bought that on Monday, and I only have 4 eggs left.
Man.
Between him and my husband.
You might be a little bodybuilder.
Something.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so the topic today is Birthright Africa. And shout out to Nathaniel Langen for sending that in.
Yeah.
So basically, the Birthright Program is a program designed for African Americans in America. And they work with African Americans between the ages of 13 and 30, scholars and future scholars. And this program is designed to inspire scholars to draw pride, confidence, and creativity from the cultural roots and legacy of innovation in the U.S. and Africa.
Okay, dope. Well, let's see what this application process looks like.
All right. So you would get on the website, birthrightatafrica.org, and click the register for the program. You have an application.
That simple.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, this is what it looks like, guys. I would encourage anybody to do this. I looked into it myself and I'm very excited about it. We will post the link in the description down below, and let us know what you guys think about it.
Yeah, so basically with this Birthright program, I like it. I looked at some YouTube videos, and more specifically the one that was taking place in Ghana. There was an African American female, and she said something very interesting, and I wanted to just kind of address it and just kind of get some thoughts on it. So this is not a quote verbatim what she said. We feel as if Africa is supposed to embrace us. Our socially constructed idea of blackness isn't real or relevant in Africa. I would say black people, period, in America, whether you're African American, or you're West Indian, or you're actually African, or wherever you're from, on the planet, if you're in North America, I think we relate to each other based off the same experiences that we go through. Africa is so broad too. It's kind of ignorant to just say Africa, Africans, and not specifically talk about the specific area, and we do that a lot.
There's actually West Africa, and then they have South Africa, and South Africans feel a completely different way about their culture than West Africans do, and so yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, so in trying to relate to Africans, for this morale experience, we just have to realize that their ancestors didn't go through slavery. Ultimately, so we suffer a lot of psychological issues, and due to the fact that they didn't go through that, they just can't relate to it, and they don't really look at everybody as, oh, we're black, let's stick together, let's be unified, unless it's about some business, and we can see that with the North African or with the slave trade,
right.
That mainly went down because of Africans. Selling their own people out.
Yeah.
So that was just, that's just very interesting. I want to know what you guys, think.
Wow. I would say I'm not the same.
Huh?
I would say I'm not the same.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If I was to, be cool with somebody from another culture or something, we're not the same. Honestly, you know what I mean? I can only relate to people here in North America, you know what I mean? Because, like you said, people in Africa really want slaves. You know what I mean? We here, this is what we go through. So I can sympathize with you on a lot of stuff here. Like, as far as other cultures, I would say I'm not the same as you. We're not, you know what I'm saying? Whether you be the same color or whatever. We're not the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not. It's simply this, that's it.
Okay.
Interesting. All right.
Okay, so in reference to what this young lady said about, going there and experiencing Africa, prior to meeting my husband, I think I would feel the same way. I think I did feel that way. Like, man, when I go to Africa, because I definitely have that as a goal, when I go to Africa, I'm going to feel like so free. I feel like I'm going to be with my people. It's not going to be any judgment. It's going to be, I'm going to know what that feels like. Because as you said, psychologically, it's embedded in us. And even when we think it's not, even when we're woke, you know what I'm saying? And we look at different things and we have different perspectives, it's psychologically there because that's, there are certain things when we walk into different places, we know, we have to be a little more watchful of ourselves because of how we may be taken or, things like that. And I witnessed it in myself when I started dating my husband, who, we had to come to the reality, you have always lived as a free man. Like, you've never not lived as a free man, and he moved here about almost 5 years ago now. So he hasn't been here too long, where I've been here my whole life. And so, I think once you're here in America, regardless of what color you are, or regardless of what culture you are, if you're brown or black or African American, or if you have color and pigmentation on your skin, that's how you're seen. And at that point, they don't care. But I do think culturally there are a lot of different things. And I think that there are stipulations on Africa, like you said. A lot of people think, oh, it's poor and beat up and everything else. I think it's just like how it is here. There are places that are below that grade, and there are places that are above it. And there may be more that areas that are below it because it's not fully developed yet. Those are considered underdeveloped countries. However, there are still beautiful places, in Africa that are very well developed. America is looked at as very undeveloped when it comes to the healthcare system. So, there you go. I think in Africa, referencing back to the slave trade, for them it was just about profit, and I don't think that they saw what was to come. At a point, obviously they did, but I think in that very beginning of it, they just were looking at it as a profit. I think it was a horrible thing, and I don't think it was a good thing to do. I wasn't there in that time, but I can only interject on those feelings of it.
And everybody had a part in it. It wasn't just Africans. You had the Arabs, you had the Jewish people. So and I have books on that.
Yeah.
But everybody had a part. But I just had to point that out.
Yeah, no, and I respect that and I appreciate that because it puts a different perspective onto things. I think that in Africa, there's such a bond there, okay? So there's such a bond, like, one that's almost indescribable. They just truly look out for one another. Everybody is like family, you know, and it's consistent, and it doesn't matter about, you know, any qualms or anything like that. Like the bond is just so deeply ingrained in them from the time that they're small children, you know. And so what happens is, in their perspective, even when they come here, they're just still holding on to that, you know, their people, you know what I'm saying, which is nothing wrong with that. And I think when they come here, it's a culture shock, just like when you go anywhere. And I think we're a lot more loose and candid about things, and, you know, we've been taught to kind of just stick to ourselves. We have this trust, you know, that's built into that psyche, and so we see things from a different perspective, and so it can clash at times, but the example I was giving earlier about, you know, that psychological point, me and my husband, we were getting ready for our gender reveal, and at the time we weren't living together, and I lived in a predominantly white neighborhood, and we were driving, and he just stopped in the middle of the road, and it's like 2 a.m, and I was like, bro, what you doing? Like, and he was like, yeah, I just want to get something out of the car. I said, do not get out of this car. Like, we're not even on my street. I don't know this neighborhood. Like, the people on my street know me. I don't know. This is a white neighborhood, you know? And he's like, okay, and like, I don't care about that. And I was like, please, just please do not get out of this car and go get something out of your trunk. Like, I just don't want there to be any problems, any issues. And I was like, wow, for me to even think like that. And he's like, it is what it is. And he's like stopped in the middle of the road too, you know? So I'm like freaking out. And I realized that when I did that, it was a culture shock for him. And it was a culture shock for me too, because I realized how psychologically embedded that is in us.
It probably would have been for me too.
Yeah. I would have been like, bro, wait. What are you doing? Like, well, for me, I was like, bro, like, I don't want anybody stopping us, and then they're asking why you're going in your trunk, and then, you know, like, those were the thoughts that were going through my head. So I was like, can we just wait? Like, we're like 2 minutes from my place. Like, can we just wait, you know? And later that month, he had an experience with an older white woman who he was working, and they have like their glass up, and she hands him money, and he gives her change back, and then she comes back and accuses him of taking $20 out of her bag. And he's like, I'm behind a glass. How am I taking money out of your purse? Like, and she trolled his boss, and, you know, and I think so it's a lot of things they have to go through, you know.
Yeah, that's messed up.
And I think the reason why that young lady said that, and I think from the African perspective, when you go there, because we don't have that bond and that connectivity, it's like when we see each other, we have to kind of learn each other, we have to feel each other out, and then we're like, okay, this person is cool, they're family. We can't just go and say, yeah, that's fine, what do you need? Like, I got you, you know, I'm here for you. That's how they are automatically. So because we're that way and we go over there, they're looking like, oh, these people either think they're better than us, or they're not as trusting as we are, you know, like they might, you know, try to get over on us.
How did your husband, you know, feel initially about Black Americans?
My husband is a very caring person, and I'm not just saying that because he's my husband, put that as a disclaimer, but he's a very caring person. So he sees people as they present themselves, but he's also very much how all of us are, is that he not only just sees people as how they present themselves, but if he's seeing a pattern with people, then he would start to be like, oh, okay, these people must be this way. You know what I'm saying? And my husband had only learned English when he got to America. He didn't know, or into the US rather. He didn't know English prior to coming here. So I think that sometimes words can get misconstrued. Things we see as, you know, slang terms or, you know, things like that, it can kind of be a little misconstrued sometimes. And
Give us an example.
I'm trying to think. Okay, so like, oh, okay, this is something he and I have had conversations about a lot. Like, if we're all, you know, talking and, you know, we get off subject or something, I can say, this is ridiculous, like, we'll just let it go, you know. He would be heated by that, and he would, you know, take the word he heard and kind of play it into what he heard at, you know, work or while he's out throughout his day. And those people might have been coming, you know, in a harsher way. And so he's coming, and I'm like, bro, I'm your wife, like, I'm your backbone, I'm here for you. But because he heard that word ridiculous, it kind of put us all together now. So there is a cultural shift that has to, you know, it's hard being married in general, and it's hard being married to someone of a different culture.
Yeah.
So you have to just truly love each other and kind of put your defenses down to say, let me learn you, let you allow you to learn me. So that, you know, that has played a part.
You know, where he's from specifically in Africa, like what are the women's roles? You know,
Okay. Well, first of all, he's from Burkina Faso,
Okay.
in West Africa, which is close by Ghana.
Mhm.
I can say that for the women there, they're pretty open, you know, to women doing what men do, but I think that it was something that was embedded, you know, like it had to be something that was woken up, almost like Black Lives Matter culture, or, you know, women versus men here, you know, dealing in that. I think it was a very similar thing.
So it's kind of westernized.
Yes,
Okay.
because in the sense of, like, there are some, and it also depends highly on religion as well. There are some people there who have multiple wives, but there are some people there who don't believe in multiple wives. You know, there are some people there who, you know, they're like, you know, yeah, I believe in emancipation, you know, and that's, you know, the emancipation of women. So, you know, women having those rights and stuff. But a funny story is when he and I were dating, we hadn't even made it official. We were just, you know, like hanging out, and we had connected like almost instantly. We started hanging out a lot. And I remember meeting one of his friends, and we're sitting there talking, and his friend is, you know, I said, okay, so how are you doing here, you know? And he's like, yeah, I've been here for a while. You know, I met a woman here, and, you know, we were engaged to be married, but, you know, I didn't want to, you know, follow through. So I asked him, and his views of things, which aren't wrong, it's not wrong views, it's just the way that he was brought up, you know, and what he felt is the right way to handle things. But, you know, she wanted to still go to the clubs after they got married, and he said no. And I think there are
No nigga, no club.
No, don't do them like that. No, but I know, but I think that comes up to personal, because, you know, everybody has their own personal thing, and I know there are guys, you know, who are here in the U.S. as well who wouldn't want their wives going out to the club like that. And, you know, so it just depends, but he had such a stigma on it, like, you know, I don't want her doing that. And so I asked him a question because I was just curious, and I had just started, you know, talking to my husband. Right, so I was, no, my question to him was, I said, so how do you feel about women working? He said, yeah, I'm okay with that. Like, you know, I know that that's been something that has been implemented on us, and so I'm okay with that. And I said, right. I said, okay. I said, so you're okay with that? I said, so if both of you are working full time, and, you know, you both come home, are you expecting the house for her to have the house clean and, you know, things cooked, and y'all are both putting in the same amount of hours for work? And he said, yeah. And I said, how is that right? Like, do you do some? He said, yeah, sure, I don't mind helping sometimes, but, like, that's her responsibility. I said, so how would this work then? If y'all are both working the same amount of hours, both putting food on the table, both carrying that weight of income outside of the household, how does that work? And he said, then she would need to find somebody to come and help her.
Get another wife. That's what the other wife come in.
Like a friend. Like, and even if he's a one wife type of person, he's like, it's your responsibility to, and not hire someone, but, you know, find a friend who is going to have that responsibility to come and help you keep this house in order. And it was funny because I just said, okay. And in my head, I said, I'm done. I'm not talking to this dude anymore. I said, okay, that's interesting. I said, I don't agree, and I think it's wrong. And I remember my husband laughing at me because they went outside and talked. He left shortly after that. And I was like, bruh, let me tell you something. If you think that's how I'm going to be, we're not going to work. So I may as well just go ahead and pull out. And he's like, listen, I'm not like that. And he made that very clear from the beginning. He wasn't ever going to, you know, down his friend, but he just made it very clear, you're your own person. You have your own views on things, and I will respect that. So he and I very much talk about things. you know, his mother has always worked, his father has always worked, and so I think it's just on the person. I think there a lot of things are shifting, so everybody's picking up what they feel is right to them. That's the most I can say because I haven't physically been there yet.
Okay.
Hell no, you better let that woman go to the club. Or you better not, the way you doing it.
Oh my god.
You better not let her go to the club. Some nigga like me in there, like, no, I'm just playing.
And that's probably why he didn't want
Yeah, you said yeah. She want to get away, brother.
No.
She want to get away. You want to clean, cook. Yeah, you better not let her go to the club.
Yeah.
Anywho.
No, he didn't have problems with her doing other things. It's just she was just, I guess, a club girl. Like that was her release.
Yeah.
You know, when she had her long week, she just wanted to go to the club, and he was like, I don't want my wife in the club. But I think again, there are men, you know, American men who feel the same way. You know, men from the U.S. who are like, no, I'm not about that. You know, every once in a while, you know, we can go to the club, or we can go to the club together, or you know, and I mean honestly. I dated, you know, guys in the past who they wanted to go to the club so much. I went to the club with them just to, you know, have time with them. And it's not even my scene. Like when I start talking to them, I didn't go to the club. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that it comes up to each individual and just talking.
The one question I would have is like when it comes to just raising your kid, do the values line up with our culture and theirs, or do they see anything differently?
Yes, they definitely see things differently. But again, it comes up to the individual because when you become married, like it's up to the parents. You know what I'm saying? And we very much value each other, and we very much value the guidance of our parents as well. But it really just depends on the person. So. They're very loving, you know, very inclusive with everyone. And me and my husband, like, we talked a little bit before, you know, my son was born, you know, but we kind of we're very similar when it comes to our personalities. Okay, scratch that. We're not similar when it comes to our personalities. We're similar when it comes to, what's the word, guys? Not our humbleness, but our intent,
Morals.
Our morals. That's the word. We got it. Our morals.
Shout out to the cameraman.
Right. But
Shout out Georgia Gert, man. Look out for Low Country Sauce.
Yes.
Low Country Sauce coming.
But yeah, our morals are very similar. Cause he's such a kind man. Like he's so passionate and with his kindness to people, which is something that I love because I'm that way too. So, you know, if people come into our home, like he's like, you know, their family, you know, like, you know, what can I do for you? Like, LaDonna, make sure they have something to drink. Are you hungry? You know, it's never, even if he doesn't know you, like if you guys came over and, you know, needed something or whatever, it doesn't matter. You're just like, okay, these people are coming. What do we need to do to make them feel comfortable, you know? And I respect that from him. So raising our child together, of course you have different adversities, which I feel any parents do that you kind of run into, but for the most part, morally, I feel like we're pretty content, you know, with what it is of how we raise our son and what we teach him and our, you know, values and things like that. We have some things that come up, but yeah.
Just back to, you know, this program in general. What do you guys think? How do you guys think that, you know, it can help us, and how do you think it could be a mutual benefit?
For people in Africa and also people visiting?
Yes.
They give us the chance to actually see, you know, where our ancestors actually did walk, you know, and give us a chance to actually connect with them and actually, you know, open your eyes to what it really is. You know what I'm saying? Instead of what's in your head, you know what I'm saying, in your head about it and whatnot. I think it's like, to me, I want to go because I just feel like it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. You know, we got lions there. We don't have big cats here. That's majestic to me. You know what I'm saying? And people are living amongst that, so I think that's just cool in itself. And it will open your mind. It probably liberate you as a, you know, being an African American, and let you actually see, you know, take pride in your culture and stuff like that. Like I do. I don't, you know, talk a lot about it, but I'm very proud of who I am as a person, my heritage, my culture, whatever you want to call it. You know, I'm proud of all that. But I feel like Africa might take that to the next level for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as like being free as a person. You know what I'm saying? Connecting with your past and stuff like that. And people that look just like you. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that'll be cool. So I think it'll benefit you. In that way, I think it'll help you grow as a person. You know, it might click something in your mind. You know, so can't wait till I
new
know.
thoughts. Bring about new thoughts.
New thoughts, a new way of life.
Yeah.
Kinda, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it might just give you that feeling. So.
Sean.
So I'm answering my question.
You answer your own question.
Right.
I think the mutual benefit is, of course, what Ty said. Basically, just traveling. Kind of expanding your mind, and also just the opportunity, to go over there, kind of create some relationships and do business with each other. I know they don't look at blackness, within the same, but the way I feel is like there's opportunities everywhere. You have to take advantage, everywhere you can.
Yeah.
But why not do it with somebody melanated?
Yes,
That's it.
yes,
I mean, that's how I think about it. And
yes.
there's a lot of untapped resources over
Yes.
there. Maybe we can get into that. Maybe we can inspire the person that does get into that.
Yeah, for sure.
There's probably a whole bunch of things out there that we get into. Whether when it comes to like international trade and everything like that.
Yes.
I want to go on a safari tour. I want to do is go on one of them little tours.
We have discussed like a lot of international trading and with just me and my husband and having accessibility to that stuff, and it's so dope and it's so important. And I think for a program like this for me, if I fit the criteria, I'm just playing. But if I was going to it, then it would be, of course it would be a learning experience, but I would really just want to be in the ways. I would want to see the lifestyle of, what a person goes through on their day to day, and connecting with them. And I think that would help them to develop and build that trust as well, because then they'll get a better sense of you and who you are. Because there is a stigma there, about Americans. Just like here, people put a stigma on just about any and everybody. So
what's our stigma towards Africans? I'm curious.
I know people who say Africans always think that they're better than everybody else.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
So those are small-minded people.
Right.
Even in the city that we live in, somebody who's coming in trying to do something better for themselves.
Right.
They'll look at him or her and say that they think they're better than everybody else. So I just think that has a lot to do with self-esteem and just
exactly.
Jealousy is because jealousy.
Yeah, I agree.
They come in and they do what they need to do to take care of what they got going on.
Right.
They don't play around. That's what I do respect about other coaches in general. They do not come over here and bullshit.
They don't.
Because they know that this country is built on capitalism. So they're going to cap.
So with that being said, why do you think we bullshit so much?
Because people are comfortable for one. People in America are comfortable because there's a lot going on in America. For one, you can do whatever you want to do here. You can just go out and do it. You know what I'm saying? It comes down to you whether you're overthinking it or you just gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has the ability to tap into some good money around here. Yeah. It's about you just being complacent or you having that actual mind frame. People in America go through that because it's just too much going on around them. Too much people, it's too much freedom actually, you know what I'm saying? It's just too much freedom for you to move around, and I think that's what people get, get complacent. Like, okay, I can go make this bit of money, stay in this house, and just be fine with that. You know what I'm saying? Or people just, I don't know. If this comes down to like people having too many kids, stuff like that. All that factors in too.
Yeah.
The support point.
The fact that you know what I'm saying, the fact that you can get like government, assistance, and I don't know if you can get that anywhere, but that's already given to them and other coaches, if I'm not mistaken. Like they got free health care.
Well, it just depends on the type of government that they have.
The type of government that you have.
There's a lot of opportunities here, and basically our version of poor is like rich to a third world country's version of poor.
Yeah,
like, they're poor. I'm talking about just down bad.
I have nothing.
Yeah, during deployments, I got to see it, up close and personal. Dealing with we call them third country nationals, coming on base to just do little simple stuff, clean it up or work the HVAC systems. We had a lot of contractors, but they were working for pennies, literally pennies, and sending that back to wherever they were from.
Right.
And I witnessed a lot of things that I just can't unsee. But
Yeah.
yeah, our version of poor is not poor. And
Right.
yeah, we do get complacent.
So that's probably why they do come over here with a whole bunch of
Yeah.
initiatives. Like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll get this much money over here.
Mhm.
Like, I think we got the most millionaires, you know what I'm saying, in the world, in America. You know what I mean? I believe so. You know what I mean? Them people don't come over, they want a part of that. So they come over here and bust their ass. You know what I mean? That's what they do.
Yeah.
I think again, a lot of it becomes to that cultural mindset.
Mhm.
So, you know, they're thinking like, you know, their family is it, like that's it. You know, here there are so many broken families. There are so many, and not just single moms with babies, you know, but you know, it starts before that even because. Yeah, it is. It's psychological because it starts even before then. You know, absentee fathers, or you know, mothers who you know don't care or whatever, and it's broken. So a child loses that sense of unity at a very young age.
Mhm.
So then they're feeling like you know they're here out for themselves. They're fending for themselves. So we are in a very selfish culture in a way. If you look at it from that perspective, especially for us as Black people. Because I feel like there are different cultures in America who are like, hey, we stick together, we do this together. But I think that, you know, psychologically, just over time, it's been something, and I know a lot of people are like, you know, that happened so long ago, let it go. But those psychological things are still there. It still lingers.
Yeah.
And I think us now as you know, us being parents and our soon-to-be parent over here, you know, I think that because of the things we went through, we make sure to do different things now. And so I do think that there's growth, but I just think that we can't think about people who are coming here as, you know, so high-powered and ready to go, and we're just lazy. Not to say that that isn't the surface case, but I think that laziness comes from a different place, you know. Because now when you become an adult, you're not just trying to get ahead financially, you're trying to get yourself together mentally, spiritually. You know, you're trying to gain access to information. We're reading books to try to feed ourselves because we're not taught certain things in school. We're not taught certain things from our parents. You know, absolutely. I'm sure we can all, you know, say that, and not to say anybody was wrong. We thank our parents. They did what they could, when they could, and what they had. You know, so let me say that first and foremost. But what I can also say is that, you know, how many times do we hear if we asked a question and our parents gave us an answer and we say, but why? And they say, because I said so. You know, and that just kind of, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that kind of leaves that open-ended question, and it starts something for a child to say, oh, okay, it's just what my parent says, which I'm not, you know, there are times when my son does things and I'm like, listen, I'm telling you this, so it doesn't matter what you want to do because I'm telling you this and I'm the adult here, you know? So it comes into those things, but if he's asking me things, trying to inquire, trying to figure out his world, I'm going to always explain those things to him because it gives him a sense of unity. My child, he has so much freedom in himself, you know what I'm saying? Because he feels the love and he feels the support, even when we discipline. And those who know me with my child know that we discipline. And I don't hit him like that, but we're very stern.
Like that.
I do give him pops. Like I give him pops on his hand, you know, if it gets out of control, but it hardly does. But we are very, you know, strict. Like, you know, we're very big on being disciplinarians, but we're also very big on communication. We're very big on time together, you know, reading together, doing activities together, engaging each other, you know, asking him questions, asking him his thoughts, you know, even though he's just 2. So I think that becomes a psychological thing. We have to get over ourselves before we can kind of get into the footwork of things. And we have to have a village. And it's so hard for us to think about that perspective of having a village because we weren't taught that. So, you know, other cultures have a village. So they don't care about the work. They're coming back home to their village. We're trying to figure out ourselves, and we're always feeling alone. I know so many people who go through their day-to-day life, even when they're around people, you know, here, feeling alone because they don't have, you know, they don't feel like they have that solid foundation. And if you do have that solid foundation, maybe your family, you know, doesn't know about certain information because it's not taught to us in the school system, you know, so, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lot, I know.
Nah. That was some good unpacking.
Yeah.
Great unpacking.
So, what kind of benefits do you see, like as far as so I talked about what I think, as far as the business relationships,
Right.
and everything like that. So, what kind of potential do you guys see as far as business relationships? Because I'll name it off the top. I'm sorry.
Yeah, please.
So they have natural resources, of course and the resources, it's sad to say, they're kind of unlocked by other countries, whether it be Asia, different, countries within Europe, like it's a sad thing. But there's still things that, kind of tap into. Like you said, your mother-in-law, has access to, the African cloths and whatnot. It's still something, fashion. I don't look at it as minute at all. There might be, certain leather over there. Hell, they might have some type of African spring water. The alkaline level of 22.
Right.
Alkaline water.
There's a lot of things that we can potentially tap into. But what do you guys see? Music industry. We know Akon just pretty much put on. For like a whole village, electric company.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. I'm not an expertise on Africa, y'all. I just got an African husband. I just want to put that out there, so y'all don't be checking for me. I'm just giving my insight, But
nah, she's the liaison. Come at her. And this is her IG. We'll put it on the screen.
But well, we've talked about international trades. Something that is an admiration for me when I'm talking about my husband, I'm not being gushy. I'm just saying he wants to give back, So he talked about, once we get to a certain level of us moving there for a good bit, so he can open up a school, and just utilizing those things. But moving things into Africa, I think for them it's a different mindset. Like, of course it's business, but everything isn't necessarily for the profit, because there are things because what becomes profit is just uplifting their people, because you get a lot more profit for the future if you have 50 students who you teach, and you teach them the ways of getting where they need to be and growing and prospering and creating a different mindset and habit within themselves. So he doesn't go there for the intention of, wanting to build this school for profit necessarily. This school is more so because it's something that's needed, and it's in different areas. And he could do a school anywhere, but he wants to go back home to do it, and that's just going back into that bond that's just there, for people of different cultures. We've talked about international trading. We do things now where we have access to different, cloths and fabrics, which their cloths and fabrics are so durable, just so durable. And another thing is just, besides the international trade and everything, is, we have better cars. I don't want to say better cars, but we have more access to vehicles here. So sometimes, we send cars back and little stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just utilizing it. But everything is always in the base to help, and to get us all together. Because at the end of the day, it may be things that are different culturally, but Black recognizes Black, I'm just saying, it's real. Like, even though there's a difference in cultural, it's still like, these are my people. That's how we're seen from, other cultures, who are not Black. It doesn't matter if you're African or American or whatever. Some people just see us all as Black, so we still have to stay united, Yeah.
True that. Yeah, absolutely.
What about you? What kind of opportunities you see in the business?
Different way of doing things. Like you said, the untapped resources, stuff I don't know about. I don't mind doing business with other coaches, African coaches, whatever. I want to see what that's like. I think the benefit would just be a different way of doing things. I'm sure they do business very differently than what we do it. Probably better than we do it.
Yeah.
So, I think that'd be a great benefit. Why not?
All right. Well, that's all I pretty much had,
Yeah.
Is there anything that you guys wanted to come in with?
No, I think this is a great Like, yeah, it's the word you use, unpacking.
Getting
Fancy in the green room. Getting fancy now.
I only had one. Well, I had a few, but we kind of touched on all of those. But what were there any negative connotations that you guys ever had of Africa? Like, you know, ever at any point or heard of, or, you know, even felt a little weary of, like, you know, yeah, I want to go to Africa, but do I want to go to Africa? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Nah, I will say that, you know, I grew up, my dad, he definitely, you know, instilled a sense of pride within me.
Yeah.
But you still see what you see, you know, on the TV. So
Yeah.
I did have like that negative connotation. But,
Okay.
you know, as I got older, you know, I just, and a lot of, let's clear it up real quick. A lot of messed up stuff is happening within Africa. I'm not just gonna make it seem like it's all good. You know, there's a legal slave trade going on today in Africa.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
A lot of other cultures too.
while I want to check it out, I just want to go to a spot that's, you know, kind of good to go to first, that's in the safe. And I don't want to just say, you know, I just want to go to South Africa, because that's, I feel like that's like a vacation spot.
Right, it is. For
I mean, starting off, I would probably want to go to like a Nigeria or something like that. And I don't know where in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So it's huge. You know, I just have to do more research, but I do have a lot of African, you know, people that I keep in contact with.
That's awesome.
So, you know, I can definitely holler at them about that. But yeah, I did grow up with the negative.
Yeah, that negative connotation.
Yeah, but when I seen the African person, it's not like I looked at them, you know, any negative or any different, you know, to be honest with you.
Right. They carry themselves with a lot of pride too, which is a great thing, you know.
And I can respect that.
Yes,
you know, if you have a culture, this culture,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you have your history, you know, that you're being taught and everything like that. Why
Right.
wouldn't you have pride? So,
Cool.
thank you for tuning in to the Green Room. Like and subscribe to our channel for more content, and you can catch us here every Sunday. Green Room out.
All right,
Green
Green
Room
Room out.
out.
Yeah, we out, motherfuckers.